Welcome to Vysh IAS. So we'll be continuing with the Plums series of polity, governance and schemes today. Okay, so if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing this channel so that you will be getting daily free updates on UPSC. And if you're looking for a good quality test series, then you can contact the number which is given on the screen 7200681675. Okay, let's move on to the first question. So the question reads, at the time of enactment of constitution, the provisions which enabled a secular state were, okay, and 4 options are given. So please go through this question very carefully. This is a type of question where most candidates will make a mistake and they'll end up in negative. Okay, so please take a minute and please read this question very carefully. Okay, if you have done this, the correct answer comes out to be B, fundamental rights and DPSP. And many of you, if you have got this answer correct, then you're on a correct track and you're getting that knack of prelims. For those who haven't got the answer correct, most of you would have opted for A, preamble, fundamental rights and DPSP, the option number A. Now, what is the problem with option number A? I'll tell you. Preamble, although it talks about a secular state, it was not at the time of enactment of constitution. In the question, it is clearly stated at the time of enactment of constitution. Okay, so in the preamble, although secular is mentioned, it is to the 42nd Amendment Act. Okay, it is only through the 42nd Amendment Act some words were added to the preamble, and you have to go and brush up those words. What are those words added to the preamble via the 42nd Amendment? Okay, so preamble should not be in the answer since it was not say a kind of secular nature during the enactment. Okay, but fundamental rights and DPSP, it already originally only it suggested for a secular state. So the correct answer comes out to be fundamental rights and DPSP. Okay, now come to the second question. The feature of Indian constitution borrowed from South African constitution is. Now this is also a kind of factual question, nothing more to explain. You have to mug up and you can make some mnemonics also, which all parts are being borrowed from varied part of the world and their constitution. Some features have been borrowed from across the world. Okay, so what are those features and from which country they have been borrowed? So it is clearly stated in the Lakshmikant important ones, so you can glance through that. And here the correct answer comes out to be B, procedure for the amendment of constitution and election of Rajya Sabha members. This particular thing has been taken from the South African constitution. Okay, now come to the next question. Which are the correct statements? So 4 options are given, and the first is 9th schedule was added to protect laws and regulations from legislations from the judicial review. Yes, this is also a correct statement because it's a fairly standard fact. Okay, standard fact statement only. 9th schedule, it was actually enacted to enacted as a pro-poor or something like a socialistic reform method. Okay, it is inclined more to a reformist method. Okay, so it's for the reforms. So yes, 9th schedule was added to protect laws. Whichever is there in the 9th schedule, it is actually safeguarded from the judicial review. Okay, then the Supreme Court held that the laws added after April 24th 1973 can be reviewed. So this is an indirect way of asking the verdict of the famous Keshavananda Bharati case. Okay, so this case is very, very important. It is the bedrock of Indian polity. So please go through it very, very carefully. What all provisions are there, how the chronology of the case and the evolution of the whole case, you have to be aware, both for the prelims perspective and the mains perspective. So this is an indirect way of asking the Keshavananda Bharati case. Yes, after April 1973, the Supreme Court held that judicial review as a weapon can be used. Okay, so judicial review can be used after this particular case, or this was actually wrapped up in April 24th 1973, and after that only the Indian polity became more responsible and responsive. Okay, so it upheld the democracy. So please go through this particular case. So in this case, the both statements are correct, so C is the correct answer. Okay, now come to the next statement. Now see the type of these questions. Okay, sometimes UPSC may be asking such kind of factual statement, but they are important. You have to know the evolution of the country India. Okay, so how the states were formed, how the union territories were formed, We know that Hyderabad, Kashmir initially they were not the part, so some methods were used and they were eventually made part of India. So what is that evolution? So instead of mugging up, learn it like a story, learn it like an evolutionary story, so that it will be sticking into your mind. So here the first statement reads, Chhattisgarh was formed by Uttar Pradesh Reorganization Act. Now, if you know the basic knowledge that Chhattisgarh and Uttar Pradesh, okay, it is like faraway states. So Uttar Pradesh Reorganization Act logically can't lead to the formation of a state like Chhattisgarh, uh, which is south of Uttar Pradesh. Okay, for a reorganization act, for a particular reorganization act to bifurcate two states, that two states have to be in near proximity. So in this case, Chhattisgarh is not, is although it's near, it is not very near to Uttar Pradesh. So in that logic also you can think, or else this is a standard fact only. If you know the evolution of Indian polity, then you can say that this Madhya Pradesh Reorganization Act, this only led to the Chhattisgarh formation. Okay, so Madhya Pradesh was made to reorganize, and Chhattisgarh was formed as a state. And second is Himachal Pradesh was the first union territory to become a state. Extreme statement but correct, because it is a standard fact. Okay, so please go through this type of statements, which was the first UT, and whichever is important from the in a generalist perspective, which all things are important, how, like how many states are there, how many UTs are there. Although you cover entire parliament and entire parliamentary devices and Supreme Court judiciary, whatever it is, if you don't know about these basic facts, then it is going to suffer you a lot. Okay, it is going to trouble you a lot. Okay, so please go through this basic details also, that is also very important for the exam. Okay, so this particular statement B, it is correct. Himachal Pradesh was the first UT to become a state. Yes, this is correct. Then C, Andaman and Nicobar Islands are the first union territory of India. Okay, so see how they have framed the two questions. First union territory to become a state, it is Himachal Pradesh, but Andaman and Nicobar Islands, it is the first ever union territory of India. So this both statements are correct. So B and C are correct. Option number B is the correct answer, while A is incorrect. Okay, so this is how you have to look for the gray areas in the question. See, the direct questions coming from Lakshmikant, everyone will be writing those. Okay, where you can get an upper hand is these kind of questions wherein most people won't write. Okay, so please prepare those gray areas also once you have completed the static important portions. Okay, then come to the next question. Which are the correct statements? Originally, the constitution had 14 languages in the 8th schedule. Okay, then currently there are 22 languages, with the last amendment being done by the 92nd amendment. Now I have already told you that whatever is the amendment, important amendments are very important. Okay, the numbers of amendment, which is what it is dealing with, like first amendment act, okay, first constitutional amendment, then 42nd constitutional amendment. These are very important amendment, and you should know what changes were made in constitution through these amendments. Like that, 92nd is also important, and it is dealing with the 8th schedule. 8th schedule is dealing with the languages. So in this case also both are correct, and this is a typical kind of question which UPSC asked. Originally it was the case, and after amendment what was the new changes. So these pattern of questions they will repeat for many other portions. Okay, not only with respect to schedule, they'll repeat for like a fundamental right. Originally fundamental rights was this much, after amendment it was made like this. So what is the original version and what is the amended version for important provisions, that you have to learn. Okay, so in this case 8th schedule, all the schedules are important, and whatever amendments are made, that also becomes important eventually. So here both the statements are correct, and the correct answer comes out to be C, both correct. That's the end of today's session. So we'll meet in the next week in the next episode. Until then, stay tuned. Thank you.